Hi, I'm Adiba, and I'm here today with Chairman Kato. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Kato, you are a musician, an artist, a filmmaker, let alone mentioning you're a former A&E doctor, and you're a meditation teacher. So tell us, how does meditation help creativity?
Well, meditation and creativity, what I didn't understand before I did when I became a full-time artist, what I didn't understand was that that creativity was a bit of a window into something bigger. It led very naturally to meditation, and then the two started feeding back into each other. So people love creativity because when we're in flow and when we're not blocked, the reason why it's so joyful and peaceful and productive is because we access that place that meditation also accesses. So the thing about creativity is that it comes from somewhere very deep and strong but very quiet. So if you really want to access your true creative potential, which we all have, it's all the same in all of us, you have to learn to listen and get yourself out of the way, which means that you take any prior decisions and judgments off the table when you're doing a piece of work. So the reason why I'm able to do different things is not because I'm innately more talented. So people often say, how do you do different things? And people, when they're being complimentary, might say, oh, you're talented to do these different things. And I wish I could say it was the case. But truthfully, if you understand anything about creativity, you realise you can't go around saying that sort of thing, because you just access the same potential that we all have.
Right.
So what any artist that you admire does, you can do. It's just about accessing that deep place. And one of the first things that you have to do is stop trying to decide what you're going to make, how it's going to turn out. So for example, if you sit down and you go, well, I must write this piece of music and it's got to be 125 beats per minute, you might do it.
Yeah.
But you won't really be tuning in to the rich diversity of ideas that are there. You won't know your true range. So the only difference between me and me before I worked on this, before I left medicine, was that I listen now. And it's not always easy, because sometimes I'll be like doing all those films, then I think I'm going to make another film, and then boom, my creativity just stops, and it says, I just know, all right, I've got to do music. And then I'll get into the music mode, and just when I think I'm going to put out some music, no, got to make another film. And so that's what people find uncomfortable, because we have to constantly just take one step forward in the dark. But the benefits are that you get a creative power that you could never imagine.
And you get that benefit from meditating.
I'm very careful about what I say about the benefits of meditation.
I know.
You know that, right? Because if I start talking about the benefits of meditation, like I'm advertising it, then people will sit down and meditate with that agenda to get that benefit. And if you're meditating with an agenda for a benefit, you're not really meditating. This is the difficulty with the words and the language that we use, and then something that is so mysterious. I can only say from my experience that enhanced creativity comes from really listening to yourself.
Right.
It comes from really expressing yourself. It comes from being not afraid to really go there and pour yourself into your work, to respond to things properly.
Yeah.
Not with your mind, but like with, you could say, your heart, something deeper. I just call it the force.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so true creativity comes from being able to listen to that and go, okay, I know this isn't rational, but I feel I've got to do this, and follow that vision, the vision that's always there. And it's not rational, it's not logical, but so you have to have the courage and the stamina to keep following it when it chops and changes.
Right, so you felt an acceleration in your creativity since you started meditation?
I did feel a massive acceleration in my creativity, but there was groundwork I'd done anyway that led
Right.
naturally. So it wasn't, that was what actually hooked me into doing meditation in the first place, because I was really skeptical.
Right.
I was like, look, this is probably bullshit, I'm not interested. But when I met my main teacher, he hooked me in and said, all right, fine, maybe it is bullshit, but I'll tell you what, you're an artist now, right? For your creativity, this would be very beneficial for you. But I'd laid the groundwork in the way I was living. So that I left medicine, and in that first year, I basically sorted myself out. I've been living, people wouldn't recognise me now because I don't live that way, but I was living in quite a destructive way, was pushing myself far too hard, was just like snapping myself all the time, like boom and bust, you know. I didn't have that balance anyway in the way I lived. So meditation isn't going to solve that.
Yeah.
So I'd worked on myself. I had a really, really strict structure about the way I work things. So my process was already really, really solid, and then meditation just built on that too. So in my coaching, when someone comes to me with creative issues or whatever they want to achieve, I get them on their life. I'll get them work on their lifestyle first and foremost.
Right.
They don't have to meditate that much. Then meditation feeds into that. But it doesn't. Meditation isn't a pill that you take and it sorts everything out.
Sure.
It's no substitute for how you're living life. And in fact, I would go as far to say that if you're not really prepared to examine the way you live, and I don't mean in a self-critical way, but like, okay, simple things like, okay, staying up for nights on end and getting pissed doesn't help me.
Yeah.
Simple things like that, which sound obvious now, but to all of us, they're not when we're in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Then meditation is going to help you.
Yeah.
And so I feel that the two feed into each other.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Well, you live and you work in East London, and you work with a lot of young people there.
Yeah.
How have you found their receptivity to meditation?
Well, I've worked with homeless people, and recently been working with one particular individual who's from Hackney. He's from gangs and he wants to leave it all behind.
Right.
And he came to me to be mentored. Someone passed me on to him. I don't coach him, I kind of mentor him and help him. Very rewarding work, challenging, and I'd like to do more. What I find is that people who perhaps feel like they don't really have anything to lose, they're actually very receptive.
Okay.
So I find when people have been, certainly like doctors that I've coached, and certainly it was the case for me, if you've been brought up a certain way in a system, you actually have a lot of preconceptions that you have to then work through, like pull apart. Whereas someone who basically is looking for a bit of direction and is really open, that they've never heard of this and that, but they're willing to try it, they don't have preconceptions, they've got nothing to lose, they're actually really easy to work with. They just kind of listen, they'll be like, yeah, okay, sure, all right, let's give it a go. They don't have those barriers.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
They don't have as much of that image perhaps that someone who, I don't know, like let's say someone who's a businessman and they think meditation is all a bit fluffy, or, you know, this isn't very grown up or something.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to cut through that, or they have an idea about achievement.
Yes.
Or, well, you know, like I've got so far in my life and I've got all this money and I've got these qualifications, which are true, but then they apply that to the more spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of my time just debunking that with people.
Right, okay. There are a lot of people who say they've tried meditation, but they gave it up because they're bad at it. What would you say to them?
I mean, how long have you got? I mean, the problem is, or not the problem, but the growth area, and this is like a really fundamental thing in my work, is that we've got this Eastern thing called meditation, and then we're in the West and we're not well. That's why meditation and yoga are exploding, because we're not well.
Yeah.
At least 25% of people are on antidepressants. Okay. Self-harm is high, like, you name it, like there are all these symptoms of what's going on within us, then reflected on a larger scale.
Yeah.
So Eastern technique, meditation, we're not well, it comes over here and we say, oh right, so this could make us better. Unfortunately, there's a clash of ideology there.
Yeah.
Because in the West, we say, well, if I pay this is what I get. If I do this, this is what I get. It's objective. I put the coins in the slot and then I get this at the end, which is fine for daily living, but that doesn't wash with meditation.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental flaw in attitude. The technique of teaching meditation is so simple, you can do it within 5 minutes. I spend all my time debunking the attitude in the way of that. So quite rightly, as you say, so people say, oh, I heard about this technique for meditation, then they close their eyes and all they hear is noise, and they go, it's not going right. I must be doing something wrong. I'm inadequate. I failed. I can't do it. Yeah. And they say to me all the time, oh, I've tried meditation and I couldn't do it. I couldn't quieten my mind.
Yeah.
And what I say to people is, yeah, it's because it doesn't work that way. It's actually understanding. It's not a personal problem. That is the point of meditation. It's about developing a tolerance for the human condition. That is the point of meditation. You know, there's all these words that come with spirituality, all these associations, compassion, love, and so people think, right, so if I meditate and then I'll meditate and then I'll have to go out and be compassionate and loving, like it's a moral imperative. It's not.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really simple.
Yeah.
If you are able to tolerate the noise in yourself for like 10 minutes twice a day, over time you're going to realise, wow, this is what it is to be a human being. This shit in my head, I've got to cart this around. You will automatically find you can give other people a bit more of a break, because you'll see them acting out from the noise and you'll be like, okay, I've kind of got this too, so I might not like you, you might be a bit annoying, but really I kind of know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
That to me is compassion. It's not an effort there.
Yeah.
It's not, I must love you even though I find you really annoying. It's like, yeah, you're loud because of this thing in me. What are we going to do? And for me, that's a very practical compassion that comes from just realising we're all mad.
Yeah.
And just accepting it and going, yeah, okay, there's this noise. Okay.
There are a lot of men, particularly, who despite meditation being around for thousands of years, they're not getting into it. And you see, actually, even in our studio, there's a lot more women coming to meditation than men. Why do you think that is?
That's a really interesting question. Talking from my personal experience,
Yeah.
so I can't speak for all men. I'd never try and do something that ridiculous. I can only speak from my personal experience. And really what's changed in me is that if you look at like the different sides to us, so you've got like the driving side where you do, and then you got the other side where you let things be and you kind of accord with the flow of things.
Yes.
You need both.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, what's really changed over the last few years fundamentally, firstly when I left medicine and worked on my creativity and just sorted myself out, and then in meditation, is just learning to go, this is what I do, and then I step back and accept and go with things. So 9 to 5, I do this, then I let go and I go to bed and I'll have a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And I'll eat well and I'll look after myself and I'll go for walks. That gentle side of me I've really had to cultivate, and that's the big change. So compared to how I was, they're in balance, whereas I wouldn't give that time of day before, and that's why I was in a right state. And you can see that my creativity was like that because I was.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And how do you think we can perhaps all do our bit to make it okay for guys to do the same as you have done?
It is true that for some reason, I would say that on balance, I have more female clients.
Yeah.
I think that's always been the case. And at workshops, I generally, probably on balance, see more women there. But I think no one is prepared to really try a new way of living or be open until they've reached a critical mass of suffering.
Yes.
I think that applies to all people. I can only speak from my own experience that I wasn't ready to listen and learn until I really, really realised, you know what, I don't know anything. Finally, I left medicine and went, you know what, I don't understand a fucking thing. I don't understand a thing about myself. I don't understand a thing about creativity. Like this drive, push, it's just snapped me, and it snapped me one too many times. And so then finally I was ready to listen, and my first mentor, interestingly, was a woman.
Yeah, I'd also add, it's probably not that women are suffering less than men. It's just that perhaps men wait a bit longer to reach that breaking point before they come.
Well, they say the same thing about going to see the doctor.
Yes.
Women statistically will go to see the doctor sooner than a man, and apparently, I don't know if this is just an urban myth, but apparently women would ask for directions on the street. You know, so there's a suggestion here that there could be a suggestion, and I don't know, but perhaps there's something in this that men don't, as a conditioned gender, don't feel comfortable with asking for help as soon.
Yes.
I know that in my case, I didn't, because I did have an idea that I had to be this like strong guy who was there for everyone else, meanwhile pushing himself to breaking point all the time. Like I thought that was what you did in life, you know. And until I just realised, no, I'm going to stop this. Yeah. And maybe there are men who can relate to what I'm saying. I'm sure there are women too, but perhaps there is that trend. Perhaps men if men and women are born into this world, and we have gender conditioning, don't we? This is a fact.
Totally, yes.
Blue clothes, pink clothes. Yeah. Men play football, women do that, you know. Perhaps as a man I could relate to that.
Yeah, sure, okay. Brilliant. Chairman Kato, thank you so much for being with us today. If you'd like to find out more about Kato, please go to his website, changeyourmind.be.